Good morning. Good morning. I heard y'all having way too much fun this early in the morning.
Listen, we got to have some fun considering all the
You
news.
ain't lying there.
Exactly. Maybe I should have been in studio, but y'all, I left home last night, took a flight to D.C. so that I could get back and be ready for the day and updates, classified briefings, which we had not had as of yet. So
Wow.
this is an important day for me to be here in D.C. bright and early.
So you are going to get the updates and briefings today?
Well, let me start off for anybody not paying attention. I think that everybody saw over the weekend that the president of this country, Donald Trump, has dropped bombs on Iran, which is unconstitutional because he needs congressional authority, congressional approval. And I was in D.C. I had some Juneteenth events. I had Pastor Troy down in the city of Morrow. You know, I'm sitting here having a good time in the community, and I get news alerts. I found out when the American people were finding out. And the power to declare war, which we don't know if we're going into a war, what this will lead to, but that's part of the problem.
Right.
Because he should have briefed Congress. I should not get my information from Twitter and from the news with the average American. So we are here in D.C. We have briefings that were scheduled for Tuesday before any of this happened. So we get our updates in a classified setting so that I get the real information, not what is put out on Twitter. So who knows what is true, what is not true. But one thing remains clear. Trump cannot go to war or lead with military aggression without the authorization from Congress. And he lied to the American people when he said he was going to work to bring peace to the region, to the Middle East, and that he was going to get us out of these wars, these forever wars that are so costly and deadly for the American people. So I am here this week to get answers to bring back to the people that I serve because we all deserve the facts, and that's what I'm here for.
So we're talking to Congresswoman Nikema Williams right now on the Big Ticket Morning Show with Jasmine McBee. So if he labels this as a preemptive strike, does that constitute something that he needs approval for?
The power to declare war resides solely with Congress. Article 1. My husband reminds me all the time that Article 1, Section 1 is the House, the United States Congress. It does not mention the president or any other branch. It is us. And we often cede our power. And when I say we, I'm talking about my Republican colleagues because they hear from me every single day on this. But my Republican colleagues, just because Donald Trump is president, they've given up their power and their control on so many issues. And I am going to speak this whether we have a Democratic president or a Republican president, Tigger, because we need checks and balances in this country. At the very least, Donald Trump was supposed to notify the Gang of Eight. The Gang of Eight are the two leaders in the Senate, the two leaders in the House, Democratic and Republican, and then the number two in the House and the Senate, Democratic and Republican, and then the chairman and the ranking member of both the Armed Services and the Intelligence Committee. That gets you, again, a Democrat and a Republican on both committees. But the Democrats on those committees, they weren't notified. They found out literally on social media when the rest of the world found out. And that's not okay.
Right.
So, Congresswoman, so I guess what I'm trying to define is there a
Was
gray...
this man unconstitutional?
No, is there a gray area where him ordering this strike is not necessarily him declaring war?
So it was not necessarily him declaring war because we don't know what this will lead to, and that's part of the problem. That's why the Gang of Eight, this other situation, was set up so that he could at least notify other people outside of his party, and it wasn't just a Donald Trump decision. But he ignored his intelligence community, his own pick for the Department of Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, gave him different information. He ignored it and was like, well, I don't believe you. Well, he chose the lady, and he sent her over there to gather intelligence, but then didn't want to believe her when she told him what was going on.
Wow.
So he ignored his own intelligence community. He did not notify the Gang of Eight, which would have been Democrats and Republicans. So what is he trying to hide? And so a lot of people right now thinking about to the weapons of mass destruction when we were lied to from other people like George Bush. And so this should have been brought to Congress. Whether Congress approved it or not, Congress has the sole authority to grant war powers in this country. There is legislation that I'm a part of that will be introduced today in the United States House of Representatives so that we can affirm our power in Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution of Congress and the War Powers Act.
Well, it seems to me he's not really abiding by the Constitution. And you talked about checks and balances, but he's defying the checks and balances. So who is going to check him when you guys have the briefing and have the meeting? Like, what's going to happen to him? Because it seems like nobody's really saying anything, and nobody's really speaking up, and nobody's really doing anything about it. He's just going around doing what he wants to do.
Well, you're right on that and ignoring the Constitution, because it wouldn't be the first time in this administration.
Facts.
Right.
But looking at this now, we even have Republicans who are pushing back against him on this War Powers Act because his party is split. When you think about the MAGA base, they did not want to get involved in any more wars. They are an isolationist thinking group, and they don't think that America should be involved in anything regarding the